phone camera, it'll actually notify people I'm on. I'm just going to move that light to a bit of a better location. Now I've lost the colour I wanted. I wanted the sort of soft lighting colour. That's brightness, isn't it? Oops, wrong button. I can actually feel it. This light has those weird, there we go, sort of touch buttons, and then I want to actually make it a bit dimmer. There we go, that's better. Probably one step brighter. But yeah, because the problem with that light is just getting the angle right with the camera. So I'll just go on to the actual YouTube bit so I can get this chat in a pop-out mode as well. Content live, see if I remember all the buttons are. Alright, is that German MG? I can't actually see that, so I'm getting the chat up on the screen on here. Because on the yeah, like the live thing on the actual phone, it's just so small on those live streams, it's really hard to read. Right, okay, so set up the settings on here, because again, annoyingly, the settings on the mobile thing are different than if you set a stream up via the PC, and you can't just get it to use the same settings as default every time. So it is German MG. Hello. Right, if I do pop out chat, then I should be able to. And they've changed, I think, where that goes again. I have loads. Just look at my channel. If there's a video on it, I've got that as a gas mask, or I've at least been lent it to do a video or whatever. Have they taken pop out chat away as a function? Oh no, they haven't. It's just they've moved where it is. That's annoying. Right. There we go. So do that. Make that full screen. And if it already says there's 9 people on, that means it's already done more than if I just sent it to do it via the other stream option. So that's good. So no World War I gas masks other than the replica, because World War I masks require you to look after them like really well, as in, you know, keep them in a room with the right amount of humidity and all that sort of stuff. So I don't buy any for the reason that they're both very expensive and I'd probably damage them, because yeah, you need to keep World War I masks and things like that in like basically climate controlled conditions, which is why in lots of museums they're in those kind of like regulated sort of display cabinets rather than just being, you know, on a more general kind of display wall. In most museums I've seen World War I gas masks, and they've actually got them in those like, yeah, proper almost like humidor type cabinets where, you know, they set the humidity and temperature so you don't have to worry about like the building heating up and cooling down and all stuff like that. Again, some masks aren't going to be as fragile as that, but I wouldn't want to get one, you know, have it shoved on a shelf somewhere, get a bit crushed and all that sort of stuff, because I've got masks that are even more recent than World War I that have like problems in terms of humidity, and, you know, they either go slightly moldy or they dry out depending on if the humidity is not right for them, depending on if they used weird rubbers or whatever, or cheapish rubbers essentially. Perishable materials, I guess, would be the right name for that. So yeah, I'll stream for probably just under an hour. I'll probably stream till pretty much bang on. It's 3:15 at the moment, so probably 4 p.m. Yeah, at least with a GP5, because they're modern-ish, you know, like 1960s, 70s sort of era masks. There's not really anything on them that's going to get damaged easily. The most easy bit that gets damaged is probably rust to the metal. And that's assuming, you know, like all the paints come off that, you know, used to prevent it from rusting. I have no idea what you're on about, Indie Woods. Is this some thing in the news or whatever? I have no clue what you're on about. But this is also sometimes the problems if I put the chat not on the subscribers only mode, because random people come on and ask me shit I have no clue about. So I don't know who Jenna is. Unknown says lol. Squeaky chair. I was trying to remember to drink my coffee while it's still a good temperature before you know, it goes to a sort of oh, you mean like silicone lubricant, silicone spray? Yeah, it depends. You can't actually use that on all masks though, because some masks are made from rubbers that won't react well to that. So again, it's Yeah, again, just watch the videos, German MG. You can clearly see that from behind me, all the stuff that's like, I mean, a lot of it is like that, but there's swords and whatever as well. Again, of course, this shit is now caught up on stuff, so actually I'll just draw it from the scabbard. But yeah. Either you've not watched any of my videos or you were doing that to be annoying, I would imagine, by saying that. Do I have anything that isn't gas mask, even though I clearly do? Cheers, that's the cold steel version of the British 1796 Sabre. But those are a lot better now than they used to be, because I never got one originally, even though I always liked them. And because the replica was quite off. You know, it's a good enough sword in its own right, but there was a few things of like, you know, like the size and balance of it that were a bit weird. So, but now cold steel seemed to actually do them closer to the original, like Napoleonic spec, which, you know, so I then ended up getting one. I think because one theory is, I don't know if that's actually true, is that they actually just get windlass steelcraft to make them and then stick a higher price on them. With swords, there's not many rules at all. Oh, that poster, that's just a reprint of an old Soviet one. The actual original Soviet ones you can still buy, but they're obviously in not as good color and sort of paper condition. That's like a proper laminated, plasticky sort of one. The one about the gas masks and everything. Like firearms and things, yeah, you can still get deactivated weapons. There's a load of blank guns, like I did the video on recently, where they basically decided loads of blank guns that have been legal for like 5-10 years were suddenly not legal anymore. So you sometimes get really bad shit like that, where the government basically decides overnight that they want to ban something because something happened somewhere. But wow, I think it just gets worse every year, but we don't get, you know, COVID wasn't the doomsday thing. But yeah, regarding COVID, I had bad flu the other week, and that wasn't COVID, it was just bad flu. I'm going to keep these flaps down because, yeah, that's the problem when you cut your hair off, is that you get headaches for having a cold head and ears. But this Swiss, not, I keep what someone say is Swiss, it's Swedish. This Swedish head warmer is pretty good. The German one's also nice. The British Army one, not so much, because the Velcro's some shit on it. The ear bits are pretty much the same on both of them. I mean, the good thing, at least with this German one, is you can actually, it's not got like a set point, you know, for doing it up. So you can actually, you know, just tighten the Velcro as much as you like it, but tighten. But airsoft, no, because I don't have a UCARA or whatever they're called, so it'd have to be bloody two-tone. Diak, no, because they'd cost like £5,000 or whatever, because it's a German World War II thing. In terms of the best thing I could actually do with something like that is getting a blank fire one or something like that. Would be ideal for a P38, but again, depends on the rules and regulations of it. So the answer is basically no. If you could own any gun in the UK with the legal permits, I'd like a FAL. I mean, there's loads of guns I like, but I'd like an actual proper FAL. Yeah, lots of World War I era bayonets are absolutely huge, because I've got the Lee Enfield World War I bayonet and the Swiss World War I bayonet, and they're like, you know, literally short swords. They're like something like 12 inches, normally most of those, to yeah, like 18 inches, like you say. You know, they're like over a foot long, essentially, to yeah, about almost the length of a conventional side sword. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that the bayonet didn't change design, did it? It's essentially it's a World War I bayonet that was kept in service into World War II. Like I said, that Swiss one I've got, that might be more recent than World War I, but it's, you know, until they went to the new pattern things for, you know, later rifles, they're still basically the same bayonet design. Like the British short sword bayonet is essentially from the late 1800s up until 1939 sort of period, where in World War II they eventually went to the shorter bayonets and then the pig sticker type ones that are really cheap for the number 4 rifles. Yeah, because they use the same bayonet mountings. As long as the rifle has the same sort of you know, the same distance, the same like style clip on it. It's like why the USM7 bayonet fits on so many rifles, because the you know, a lot of rifles put the same connecting tab onto the rifle sort of barrel, and then they have the same, you know, distance from that bit of the barrel to the sort of muzzle ring. Because you can also get bayonets that sort of fit things, but then don't fit them, you know, as well, where you know, like certain bits are the right size, but not other bits. Because yeah, again, lots of bayonets and that. You know, most countries use the same bayonet fittings for all their bayonets. You know, pretty much until if they joined NATO, then they became more standardized, even though they didn't have to have a NATO standard. But yeah, because it's on my desk and I can actually show you what I mean. I can't show you it on a gun because it'd be breaking YouTube's policies. But with a like this, like a USM7 bayonet, these all use the same kind of connector and length from the connector at the back, like the rear lug, you'd call it, to the front lug, like the ring. And because that's a set size, anybody that wanted to use this type of bayonet on their rifle would just, you know, like country would just have the bayonet lugs made in a way that just copied the M16, so they'd work. So it's the same thing with a lot of World War I bayonets, that, you know, if a nation introduced the bayonet in whatever year, they'd probably keep the lug system the same, so the bayonets would work between various rifles. Yeah, this is actually probably, I think, one of the best bayonets ever, the M7. In terms of, like, I've got older bayonets I like more than this one, but in terms of, like, a modern design, it's actually pretty good. I like the M7. I also like the one, it's, to be confusing, it's called the M4 bayonet, but it's not for the M4 rifle. The M4 bayonet that fits the M1 carbine, because that's cool. It's basically very similar to this, but a bit shorter, and it's got like a leather stacked handle like a K-bar. So it's like a K-bar with lugs on it, basically, to fit the M1 and M2 rifles. I was just wondering if I'd actually tidied up my M1 or if it's handy to show, because I've got the Swiss Sturmgewehr 57 here, and that's got like one of the really nice modern bayonets on it. But that's got a weird system for that. It's got like a hole that goes, like, it's got the rifle's bayonet lug at the bottom is actually kind of just like a spike. So it pushes down onto it. So it secures not with like a normal old-fashioned lug, but with a kind of like real little... the only Imperial Japanese Army thing I've got is the gas mask that's falling apart when we were on about gas masks earlier that aren't in good condition. Because my World War II Japanese gas mask is literally a mummified ruin, because it wasn't good when I got it. It wasn't like I got it and then threw it, you know, in a really bad condition. It's one of those, I can't remember the type without looking up the name of the mask, but because they made it from such cheap, horrible materials, you know, they just, by the nature of the rubbers and that used, haven't survived very well regardless. And this one probably wasn't stored well by the previous owner. So yeah, I've got... So this is, again, one that, like I said, like the World War I masks, that if I had, you know, a humidor type thing to store it in, I would do. But it's one of the masks I don't even like getting out to do videos on to handle, because the more you handle it, the more it falls apart, because it's just that old and kind of... So there are videos on it, you know, to prove that I own it, if you like. But it's, oh, I got the wrong way, there we go. But it's one of those things that, yeah, that's the only Imperial Japanese Army thing I've got, as far as I can remember, is, yeah, whatever one of their World War II infantry masks. I think they all were, John, to be honest. I mean, later war they probably were worse, but a lot, like some of the Japanese small arms were all right. But yeah, a lot of the Japanese masks and filters were never good throughout the entire war. Just as in that, you know, it was probably a thing of make a gas mask that was designed to last a couple of years, then make a new model kind of thing. You know, they didn't design them to last long. But even other nations that use that kind of design philosophy, you know, at least made stuff that hasn't gone brittle and horrible. But again, I've got masks from other nations from a bit after World War II that have that issue as well, where, you know, some countries just made masks out of rubbers and things like that that, you know, were fine for maybe a few years, but then just, you know, completely perish because, you know, like the shelf life of the actual rubber is not good. Again, like in World War II, and prior to it, there wasn't loads of, you know, various types of rubber. That's kind of a more modern thing where companies have done, you know, various experiments, the various chemicals are made much better, more durable rubbers. Because again, I think the Japanese ones have that problem where they're not even full rubber masks. I think they're kind of like a canvas thing, which has been kind of treated with rubber to make it impermeable to liquids or something like that. You know, so it's one of those things that if the rubber backing wasn't there at all, the mask would have probably completely disintegrated just from being a fabric kind of layer. You know, it's like fabric with kind of like almost like a tarred coating, like you might do where people used to, you know, like tar fences and like shipboards to keep water out. I think it's just something a bit like that. Oh, my computer's gone to a screensaver. There we go. But yeah, I'm just trying to think if there was anything interesting to talk about behind me or whatever, but nothing I can think of off the top of my head. Oh yeah, I was going to look for that M4 bayonet, wasn't I? But I can't remember where my M1 carbine is. I'm sure I haven't seen that not too long ago. Oh, it's literally right there. Okay. So I can't show guns on YouTube, so I'm going to have to try and get this off. But it's quite a tight-fitting bayonet, this one. Right, I'm just going to do this while blocking the camera, so hopefully YouTube doesn't... There we go. Hopefully YouTube didn't see that. Yeah, if I can't get off the end of the rifle... There you go, that's the M4 bayonet I really like. That's a reproduction one, this one, but it's like a K-bar, basically, that goes on the rifle. Let's just see if I can get the actual bayonet off the rifle. But this one fits really well on my M1 carbine, as in too tight. There we go. There we go. So yeah, I really like this bayonet. It's very similar to the M7. It's a bit shorter, and it's got that sort of leather stacked handle, like wood sort of handle design. But yeah, I really like the bayonet the M1 carbine used, and M2 carbines, M3 carbines. I suppose you could have it on M3 carbine, but then it might get in the way of all the other crap they put on the M3 for the night sights. But yeah, again, exact same lug system and everything from the later M7s, just to a slightly different scale. So these don't, you know, just simply slot onto an M16 or vice versa. Because, yeah, just to show that. The length from the ring to the actual lug is actually very similar. Actually, I'm trying to remember. I think the lug itself might be identical. Oh, no, lug is narrower on that one. So, yeah, the M4 bayonet for the M1 carbine, that has a smaller, like, narrower lug, but is the same kind of locking system. But the main difference, obviously, is it has a smaller, like, front ring, because these rings were designed to fit over a flash hider, whereas on these are obviously designed for rifles that just have basically, you know, barrel with no muzzle brake on or whatever. But yeah, both of these bayonets I quite like. The nice thing the M7 is, although bayonets aren't typically meant to be sharp, this is actually quite a nice sharp blade on this one, so it's actually quite nice just for using for opening packaging and things like that. But yeah, both of these I like. But yeah, the problem is, like I was saying, is if I try and put this one... Yeah, this one is just too wide to fit properly, so it rattles on the like that on the M1 carbine. And again, like I said, if you try and do it the other way around, often this won't fit over the flash hider or won't quite fit on the bit there. Because the Steyr AUG, this is why it's interesting, because again, annoyingly, both my Galil and Steyr AUG take the US bayonet, so they're this type. But, yeah, see, because this one's meant to fit on it. And not to load of shit over that I'll have to pick up in a minute. So, yeah, not meant to show this on YouTube, but there you go, Steyr AUG. No, not really NV. Oh, I've got a Chinese gas mask that was issued to the NVA, but like my particular one wasn't. It's like, you know, an unissued one. But yeah, so the flash hider means that I can't get this over onto the AUG, even though, and yeah, it's too narrow as well, this bit to fit on the AUG, so this one wouldn't work on the AUG at all. The Galil, I think, would be the exact same problem. Yeah, the Galil would be the exact same problem because the Galil has a similar size flash hider to the AUG. But yeah, with the Steyr AUG, you can have a US bayonet on that. Same with the Galil, because yeah. Anyway, let me pop this back over where it was. So I have to tidy some shit up, like I said, in a bit. Again, I don't want to wave these onto camera accidentally and have YouTube go, oh no, he's got a gun, give him a strike. Because, you know, their policies on the guns on my streams. Right. So let's put the scabbard back on this one, because I'm not... Okay, which is scabbard? Because the only problem with this is I have a feeling... Yeah, the actual scabbards for the blades are the exact same design. Yeah, they are. Because obviously, so it doesn't matter, but yeah, because the actual, I guess, webbing and cants, like, so yeah, the blades, are the blades the exact size on these then? Oh, yeah, they are. Okay, never mind. Yeah, so the blades are actually identical on both of these bayonets. Yeah. So yeah, it doesn't matter which of these scabbards I use for which blade, because technically they're identical scabbards. It would be a bit annoying if I had one that was a genuine bayonet and one which was a replica kind of thing, but you confuse them. But yeah, but yeah, that's that back on the M1 carbine where it fits. Without people seeing it on YouTube, pop that back in that corner where it belongs. Right. You are like where you get a cut that's so thin because it's so surgically done, yeah, you can barely feel it. The scar I've still got on one of my fingers, again, under this lighting, it's hard to see, but I think it's the one that's on this finger. I don't know if you can see that on, no, the lighting's going to make that scar quite hard to see, but I've got a permanent scar there because that was like a really sharp cut from a bit of ceramic, and it cut really deep, you know, and it bled quite a lot, but it barely stung at all, that cut, because it was so clean, but it was quite deep, so it left a scar. Because ceramic is really good at making quite deep cuts when, like, you know, a plate breaks or something like that. Darian, just because I find it interesting, and at one point, not anymore, gas masks used to be really cheap on the surplus market, you know, compared to other types of surplus. So if you were collecting gas masks, you know, they used to often be 20 to 30 pounds for a mask with its bag and everything else, compared to, you know, if you're buying guns or helmets or whatever, they were a lot more expensive. I'd love to own a K98, but I'm in the UK, bear in mind. So even though you could legally own it with the right paperwork in the UK, you know, that it's going to be stupidly expensive even with the licenses. The answer is no. The easiest thing you could own similar to that is the very old G98s, the ones that use the black powder cartridge version of the G98. That would be legal in the UK obsolete caliber thing because it's not the modern. Same with like where I've got that old Mannlicher that's like the older version of the Steyr Mannlicher World War I rifle. That because it's although it's technically the same family of rifle, because it was an older black powder cartridge, not the common like smokeless World War I version, they're UK legal because it's considered, you know, it's so hard to get the ammo they don't think you'll be shooting it kind of thing. I've actually got inert rounds for it, you know, and like the stripper clip and all that. Yeah, I think, Peach, like people have said, I think in German when you pronounce it, it doesn't sound as bad because I think they pronounce it like Mannlicher or something like that, so it doesn't even sound like it. But yeah, the fact it's called the fucking Mannlicher is, you know, when you look at the word, it just says Mannlicher. I know it's not spelt like that, but still, it's like Mannlicher, but still. That's why I like my Schmidt-Rubin more because it's a nice, well, although it's saying the Swiss Schmidt-Rubin is a bit of a tongue twister. But that is actually a much better built rifle for the time period anyway. Like, I'm not a massive fan of that Steyr. Like, don't get me wrong, I like it, and I especially like the fact that, you know, you could get them quite cheap as obsolete caliber rifles and it's bolt action, but the main thing I don't like with the Steyr is it has a really stiff straight pull bolt. And the other issue is with it, it's got, although somebody actually managed to find the antique clips for me and get me a couple, it still doesn't feed properly. So it has this really weird on-block system, a bit like the Garand, where you'd load a load of cartridges into the clip. From the clip, it would cycle them. And then basically the rifle's internal magazine / little clip holder thing, in theory, when the clip's empty, it shoots it out the bottom of the thing. But the problem is as soon as the clips get a bit dented or whatever, they don't feed properly. So it's like one of those rifles, because also the really annoying thing with the Steyr, that particular rifle, is you can't thumb an individual round into it on its own. It's designed only to feed properly from the clip. So basically, the extractor doesn't, it's hard to explain, like the extractor doesn't actually, push the round, like the bolt and the extractor won't push the round in properly unless it's come off of the clip, because the extractor is, I think, held back by the clip until it pushes the round. Then the extractor grabs the round as it pushes it into the breech. So you can manually feed it, but you have to get the round, put the round actually onto the bolt head itself, push the bolt, the cartridge onto the side of the extractor, so the extractor's holding it to then push it in. Whereas like the Schmidt-Rubin is a conventional bolt action that it feeds from an internal spring-fed magazine. So if you want to put a single round in, you can. If you want to put loads of rounds in, you can. And it's one that, the extractor works like a normal bolt action rifle's extractor. It doesn't rely on a clip being in the way first. All right, Doomslayer. You'd hopefully like my videos if you find, I don't know what that says because I can't translate it easily on here, but hopefully you enjoy my videos if you like old gas masks, bayonets, military equipment, whatever. Poot dispenser here. Yeah, Peach, both the also I said Schmidt-Rubin's got that, and my not my number 4, I've not even got a number 4. My number 1 Mark III Lee Enfield. Because it's designed, isn't it? So it stops the rounds feeding by accident if you don't want them to, or just shooting out while you've got the top cover open. And that way you can close that and just, if you wanted to, do the individual like hand loading of each, not hand loading like reloading, but pushing a cartridge into it individually. Because I think the nations that did that had the idea that soldiers might sometimes be just shooting it for like precision without the magazine, where they'd be going into a pouch, getting a round out. And I think that just carried over because of things like the Martini Henry, where, there are individual rounds being loaded. All right, cool. Yeah, just don't breathe through the old Soviet filter. Best SMG of World War II, probably the grease gun. Well, I mean, like, technically, like, things like the MP40 and that are better guns, but they were too expensive. Actually, no, the best SMG of World War II, the PPS-43, because it was the PPSH-41, but made even cheaper to be more mass-producible. Yeah, because it's called a deer stalker. I'm hunting a rabbit. Yeah, a FUD, Elmer FUD. But no, I've got it on because I've shaved my hair, so I'm getting cold even outside. I went inside and I went outside briefly earlier, and it was really cold really quickly. Again, the Swedish one's really nice. But I said the British one, not so much, because it's got that weird shit Velcro on it. What Slingshot Warrior, what gas mask did you get? Yeah, the A10 does go. Yeah, like I said, I'll show you the British one. I did a video on it yesterday. Like, it's not bad, it's just a bit weird. So, this British one, it firstly feels like a waterproof material on the outside, not actually, like the normal stuff that they use. It's got like a more modern kind of synthetic looking liner rather than like the old wool-fashioned ones. So, it's not a bad hat in itself like this, but it's got the like steel wire brim on it, so which is kind of cool. I do like those, so you can have the brim exactly as you want it, but at the same time that means that's eventually going to just snap that steel wire in there, because it's one of those sort of things. But yeah, like I said, the main thing I don't like with this is just how weak the Velcro is. It's not like this is old used up Velcro. They obviously just used a really cheap crappy Velcro on it, because as you're talking and things like that, you can probably hear that's already kind of coming off. So yeah, the Velcro is just not strong on this at all. As you can see, looks like decent Velcro. I'm tempted to buy the more modern MTP version of this and see if it's any better. But yeah, it's one of those things where even when you've got the Velcro fully done up, I imagine, yeah, you can just shake it like that and the Velcro starts undoing. The German one has better quality Velcro on it. I don't know what the difference is. So this thing isn't bad. It's just I wish they'd used better Velcro on it. And again, like I was saying, the steel wire for the brim is kind of like a personal preference thing. The has got that do-up bit at the back, which is kind of handy, which I've never really bothered with. But you know, the what do you call it? Like the pull tab to I think that's meant to go on like that over the back of it, but yeah, to tighten it up. So again, it's got that. It's all right. It's just I wish the Velcro was better quality on this because like I was saying, this it's just the Velcro isn't very good. It's just the thing that puts me off of it because, you know, if you're in somewhere and it's windy, you need that Velcro to hold or else your ears are going to be exposed. Whereas the Velcro on the German one is sehr gut, ja. So this German one is just, yeah, much better Velcro, doesn't just undo easily. But big wabbits, you probably need a big gun. They're all technically respiratory gas masks. What do you mean by with 3 filters? Because most masks have either 2 or 1 filter, like, you know, 1 at the front somewhere or 1 at each side or 2 at each side where you can blank one off. Do you know, like, the actual model name of it? I really want a Webley. I mean, obviously, like a 1911 or a Browning high power are technically... that sounds good. Umarex do quite good air guns. I've got an Umarex little Beretta pistol air gun. Oh, speaking of that, we're on about P38s. I suppose I could technically, if any company makes a P38 air gun, get one of those, and then I don't have to have any other stuff to make it look like a fake gun, because for some reason air guns in the UK don't have to follow all those rules. But yeah, like a high power or 1911 are technically, I guess, the most technically best guns of World War II in terms of handgun category. But yeah, I've always liked the Webley. Even though I know, like, technically the Webley, if you compare the power of it to like a 1911, it is like a much lower pressure cartridge. You know, it was very strong for when it was originally made. But was it Kentucky Ballistics or one of those channels did a video with a Webley recently, and while he really enjoyed shooting it, it is quite underwhelming compared to a 1911. You know, when it hits a target, it just you know, just puts quite a clean hole through it. There isn't much expansion or you know, I think unknown, and again, they're kind of Germans. The Swiss tend to make the best stuff possible. Like I said, any bit of Swiss surplus I've got is like fantastic quality. It's just that the Swiss had so much money to use for their own army. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the pressures are internally it could go up to, but I suppose it's also how much of a good hollow point it is as well, isn't it, Peach? Because obviously, the more expansion you get inside the target from a hollow point, say head, like the more dramatic it's going to look on camera. Because it's the same sort of similar things when you see somebody shoot the same like gun with the same pressure cartridges. One, say, with FMJs, like full metal jackets, and others with like hollow points, is just how much more, you know, mess the hollow point makes, if you like, because you know that. But again, like you're saying, it could just be that the cartridges he had for the 1911 are like, you know, the highest pressure possible ones it could handle, where with the Webley it might just be, you know, very generic safe load sort of levels. Yeah, I don't actually know, Peach. I know the interesting thing that the Tokarev, you know, the was it Tu-33 of Tokarev, that and the PPSH, because they were shooting Soviet 7.62 by 25mm, because those had, I think it was steel jackets on the cartridges, they're still considered stupidly good for armor penetration, because it's, you know, like quite a zippy pistol round, and then it's got a really hard case on the actual round, rather than it being, you know, a pistol with you know, like a full brass sort of soft point or whatever. Let me look them up. HDX 68. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That reminds me a bit of, I can't remember the name of it, but like one of those sort of like quite modern pump actions you see. What was the other one you said? HDB 68. Oh, and that's a Spaz 12 copy. I think I'd rather have the Spaz 12 copy just for the sake of it being, you know, autoloader or whatever he says. This site's I'm not looking at the moment, and I can't link them typically because YouTube policy. I just have quite a lot of air guns. I'm just going to have a look at all the Umarex ones they do. They've got a 1911 that's pretty nice, and a Colt Python, which is quite nice. I'll sort by price, highest to lowest. So obviously the most expensive ones are proper high-end air rifles. The like full-size Winchester-looking ones are quite nice. Oh, Umarex does an MP40. That's pretty nice. I didn't know that. You can have a look at this now. I mean, that would be good just for getting that, just to have it as a prop, the MP40, to be honest, that MP40. Powered by two 12-gram CO2 cartridges and holds 54.5mm steel BBs in its magazine. The blowback and sound effects are fantastic. Yeah, it looks quite nice. Can make me want to buy these now. But yeah, I think with like someone like Umarex, I prefer getting them just to get quite a good-looking replica gun rather than anything else. And they do a Beretta M92 copy. Again, quite a lot of nice old revolvers, like Smith & Wesson, sort of, you know, like 30s era revolvers rather than like, cowboy ones. Again, the 1911s, I keep looking at those, liking the look of those. Just because, good old 1911. Oh, they do a P38. So for the person asking about a P38, yes, Wolfer do a, Umarex do a Wolfer P38. Do I like Adolf, the Austrian painter? No, I think he's one of the worst cunts in human history. And I only wish he just did what he did in the end earlier on. Oh, they have a Luger as well, but does the Luger actually have proper blowback where, like, the top bit toggles open? Like, what I mean is, does it use the proper old-fashioned Luger, you know, like, bit, rather than, you know, just having a modern slide attached to something that looks like a Luger? Because, again, Lugers are one of those other old German handguns. I just fucking love the look of Lugers. Even if they're not that practical, I just like them. But yeah, I'll have to be careful looking through all these Umarex World War II guns, otherwise I want to be putting on the Reich. You know, just having a bit of dress up. I've got the Umarex pistol on here, but it had a different name when I bought it. But the one that's like the big suppressed barrel you break down, I've got that one because that's an individual break action. Oh, that was a pest control one. Yeah, do they do a high power? Because again, I've always liked the high power more than the 1911 because they're both very similar sort of things. But anyway, if it's over £80 better as a toggle, yeah, I'd hope so. I'd have to look at videos of them, people using them, you know, stuff like that. Because sometimes when you watch videos of that, people find flaws in those sort of things. Nambus. I didn't see any Nambus, but again, Nambus look pretty similar to Lugers, don't they? They've got that similar sort of look. Yeah, I've played Ready or Not. Don't have it installed at the moment because, speaking of installing stuff, like I've been saying for a while, I want to get a new PC. But because NVIDIA fucked the 500 or 5000 series of GPUs up so much, I kind of don't want to get one now. And the annoying thing is, like, I need to get a new PC, but I don't really want to get a 5000 series GPU because they're so underwhelming and they've got so many problems and they're like so expensive at the moment. So I bought an external SSD to use with this PC just so I could install some more games, because the problem isn't that the hardware in this PC can't play games. The problem is that, you know, I've got so little sort of storage space inside this PC. So I have to uninstall games to install other games. So that's why Ready or Not isn't installed at the moment. So I bought an external SSD off Amazon, and it's been 3 fucking days now, and they've not delivered it. And I think they said at the end of today they'll offer me a refund. But I just want the fucking item, so I'm going to have to accept the refund to then order it again, and then wait again and hope they manage to deliver it without losing it. Oh, you're half deaf. Okay, that's not good. Yeah, I'm on a 3090 at the moment, and that the card itself is very good, the 3090. It was just I was hoping that the 5090s would be way better than they were, kind of thing, you know. But the main problem is 5090s fucking setting themselves on fire because of those shitty connectors they use. Well, what do you mean, Ready or Not, with some of the noncy stuff that's going on in some of the levels on Ready or Not? I mean, the problem is with Ready or Not is on the levels you're doing that are about, you know, people doing stuff to kids. I'd rather it not be a game where you arrest people and do it properly. I'd rather this be a game where you like line everyone up and fucking execute them. So yeah, that's why I wouldn't be very good in a police role like that. There'd be some instant justice being handed out, you know. But on a game like Ready or Not, you're not scored like doing it like that. I'm mostly just playing Helldivers 2 at the moment. It's a bit of the opposite thing to that. But you know, on that mansion level, you'll be lined up against the wall. Probably shoot them in the dick first with some beanbag rounds or whatever, or birdshot, and then as they're bleeding out, finish them off. Yeah, I think there's people that are completely not into the evil ideology of what that, you know, regime did, but still quite like their dress up stuff. Yeah, I've been doing with some of my friends. We normally do level 6, level 7, and it depends, you know, if we're into how much we're feeling like coordinating as a team. Okay, so in the mansion level, John, it's like it's a bit like an Epstein sort of place, you know, um, where you go in and it's just like some celebrity party type thing, and in their basement there's like a child, you know, a child word I probably can't say on YouTube. Child abuse, you can say. So, and it is abuse. So I don't want to actually use the P word for it because there's nothing, you know. So yeah, it's all like snuff kind of, you know, like kiddie diddling and killing on film kind of stuff down in their basement. But yeah, do you have a license for that island? What, are these the oil parties? The baby oil parties? Good time for an ad. Yeah, what I have played most recently, we were on about Ready or Not on the mission where you can shoot the people that do things to children. And again, this stream has now gone really off topic because somebody just brought up a video game which has a couple of levels. I saying about games I have played recently that have nothing to do with that kind of shit. Dead Trash I bought the other day, and that's got gas masks in it. That's like a kind of Doom boomer shootery thing. That's quite fun, although it's not very long, and I think I'm already on the last boss. Just the last boss is a fucking pain in the ass to kill. There's a game called Asylum that I think is meant to finally be coming out this month. Yeah, it comes out on the 13th. So tomorrow. Asylum comes out tomorrow. I'm going to get that. That's from the developer that made Scratches like decades ago. Scratches being like an old point-and-click horror game. Atom Fall I'm kind of interested in. The more gameplay of it I see, I might be more interested than I am. So they're all this month. But the game, again, I'm most looking forward to this year, just simply because of the fact that, you know, old games that just get a paint a coat are better than a lot of new games. Stronghold Crusader Definitive Edition, because I loved regular Stronghold Definitive Edition, and Stronghold Crusader is the better game. So that now getting a definitive edition is really good. Am I smart? Probably not. I don't have an MP40. Unless you're talking to somebody else. Oh, yeah, you are talking to somebody else, sorry. All right, I'll get rid of the people spamming in the chat. All right, there we go. So that's a lot less messages in the chat now. I've removed a couple of spammers. Yeah, I've got quite a lot of hours in War Thunder Unknown, but I've not played it in ages just because it was one of those games that when I think the magic of it eventually wore off, it was a bit like an addiction, you know, where I was just like, can't get back into it now. I don't really see the point of it. You know, it's kind of like once I detoxed from War Thunder, I could never get back into it again. But yeah, like I said, Helldivers 2 I've been playing a lot of recently. There was a game I've basically completed most of the stuff you don't have to stupidly grind for, called the Black Grimoire Cursebreaker, and that is like kind of somebody's made a single player RuneScape you can get, and that was surprisingly good. It's just after you do the main story and everything out of it, there's a few more additional kind of bits you can do, but everything requires you to get to like level 80 plus, you know, in whatever skills, because it's like a RuneScape copy, you know, like the wood cutting equivalent and the mining equivalent. And it just becomes too grindy for a single player game at that point. Because, you know, you'd have to specifically go out your way like you're playing an MMO to level up skills to get to the point to just access a bit more content. I mean, I'm sure there's a cheat engine type thing I could use to give myself 99 in all the skills just to see what the end game areas are like, but still. Yeah, it's very grindy War Thunder, isn't it? Even if you pay for it, it's still grindy. I prefer the C50 just because it's more modern, but they're both very good. I've not played Easy Red 2. I've played hell of a lot of Red Dead Redemption 2, both the online and the single player. Like, you know, replayed the single player a load of times, messed about for ages in the single player, got to level 200 or 300 and something in the online, because I just was playing that excessively during COVID. Yeah, if I look at my Steam games, I'll tell you what my most played Steam games are. And bear in mind, this is only showing you stuff I have on PC that has recorded the hours properly. Right, so if I look at my games, hang on a second. Right, all games, sort by playtime. Well, the game I've played the most of is Borderless Gaming, but that's not actually a game, that's just a utility program. Cookie Clicker, I've got over 1,300 hours on, but I leave that AFK a lot. Third is War Thunder. War Thunder is actually 1,260 hours, and I haven't played that in years. So that gives you an idea of just how much War Thunder I must have played for quite a few years straight. Next is Red Dead Redemption 2, 1,197 hours. As I said, I absolutely love Red Dead Redemption 2. Gary's Mod, 856 hours. Marauders, 648 hours. Black Grimoire Cursebreaker that we were just on about, 478 hours, but that's because a lot of the time I go into a place where I can very easily kill the enemies and leave it on like AFK while I play another game just to grind some defense levels and things like that. Helldivers 2, 432 hours, really like Helldivers 2. Wargame Red Dragon, 430 hours, again, haven't played that at all recently. Interestingly, Battlefield 2042, 331.2 hours, even that's not a very good game. I haven't played it again recently. One of the only games on here I've actually got all the achievements for of all these hours is 226 hours in Command & Conquer Remastered Collection, which I played and got all the achievements for, which was a fucking ball ache, because playing some of those missions on hard is just basically like putting your balls into a meat grinder. It's not very pleasant. Then it's loads of other just games I've had, you know, binge phases on or play an hour or two every now and then. Doomslayer says everyone say yeah, I used to love Bad Company 2 the most out of all the old Battlefields. No, there's not D-Pool, but there's actually been a bit of news on the development of it, because apparently the devs are in some sort of legal battle with the publisher, Team 17. And I think Team 17's lost the legal thing now, because I think a load of developers took Team 17 to court. I can't remember exactly what all this was over, but it was like Team 17 pissed off a load of companies that, you know, they were the publishers for. So anyway, I think now technically they are working on the game again because the legal shit settled, but I think they weren't working on the game for like 6 or so months because while the court case was going, if they lost the court case and lost the rights to the game, there was no point in putting any effort into making anything for it. Okay, so Easy Red 2, a World War II game. I'll try and remember to look into it. But yeah, so by the sound of it, Marauders will get some updates again and that now. It's just a case of, yeah, the developer had to go through a load of legal bullshit by the sound of it, which basically just halted the game's development. And I think it's only now that they've won the court case they are able to actually, you know, talk about what went on or whatever. But otherwise, I think barely anybody's on any servers at the moment if you ever go on there. But I assume you can still play it. It's just a case of, you know, the chances of running into other players is very low. You're mostly going to run into AI. The name sounds familiar, but no, I don't think I've played it. Anyway, I'm going to head off now because I think I've been on longer than I said I was going to be on. What time is it now? Yeah, it's just gone 4 p.m. So, yep. See you, everybody. Thanks for coming on. I have to end this stream on here because it's my phone. Have a good day. And there should be some quite interesting videos I will have up next week because I'm getting them filmed this weekend that I'm not at work. But then I have to, you know, do video editing on the PC to upload the videos. So, anyway, have a good day, everybody. See you all tomorrow or whatever.